Politics in Nigeria has long been a male-dominated field, not because women lack capacity, but because they are often being boxed out of the decision-making space. But today, the call is louder than ever. It's time to bridge the gap between power and parity. On this edition of A Conversation, we spotlight not just the gap, but the people closing it, one policy, one reform, one bold intervention at a time. We are looking at power and parity, bridging the gender gap in Nigerian politics. Joining us is Kawthur Salahudeen, a dynamic force in Nigeria's development space. She's a multi-sectoral development professional and public interest lawyer with over 6 years of impartial experience in youth systems, strengthening civic innovation and governance advisory. So what will it really take to dismantle barriers and get more women into the rooms where decisions are made? Welcome on board, Kawthur.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. It's nice to be here.
Same here. All right, let's start from the basis. I'd love us to start from the Seneca Falls Convention of 1848 that happened in New York. And during that convention, it was a time that women were able to talk about the ills of the society, the need for them to vote and be voted for. And after then, I think that wave, came into Africa, and then we'll add the likes of Alimo Tupelewura in Lagos State. Of course, we have Fumilayo Ramson Kuti, we had Margaret Ekpo, and a whole lot of them. And these women, they were political activists. Alimo Tupelewura, she was a politician, even regardless of the fact that she could not read nor write. And of course, even Fumilayo Ramson Kuti, she was learned, they fought for the right of the women. She even established the women, like she was like a women organization that fought for the needs of the people. So I want to ask you, where did we get it wrong? If those women back then, a lot of them did not even have what we have now. This is 2025. Some of them were not learned. So why is it that, sometimes people say women are not really interested in politics? Or what do you make of all of this?
Well, for a start, I think that the whole assumption of women are not interested in politics is really wrong.
Okay.
In the sense that we have to have a certain kind of climate that is permissible, that is all-inclusive, for you to say that women are interested or they are not interested in politics. Okay. So say, for instance, that we have a platform that is very welcoming. And I also think that it has to do with interest. Women do not have, or women suffer from financial poverty as much as time poverty. In the sense that we divide our time between so many other responsibilities. And then you get to look at the rigors of politics itself, which is actually demanding. You can have meetings in the midnight. How do I have caucus meetings in the midnight? So the attractiveness is not there. And so to say flatly that, see, politics itself is not attractive. It shouldn't actually be attractive. Because if you are going to look at the salary of the then Tafawa Balewa, the Prime Minister then, and you compare it with the Vice Chancellor of UI then, it is very, very comparable in the sense that how much were they earning? How much was the Vice Chancellor even earning in UI then? Probably around 4 or 5 pounds, and a Vice Chancellor in UI then was probably earning 3,750 pounds thereabout. Tell me, how is it attractive? Why will I leave my teaching job for me to go and become a Prime Minister? So I think that for women, it's more or less financial poverty and time poverty. We have a lot of things to share our time with. So the idea that women are not interested is really wrong. Say, for instance, men stay at home. And we have all the time in our table to do whatever it is we wanted to do. We are not coming back to say after work. We are also coming back to domestic activities, taking care of the child and taking care of the home. We have to share our time with the family, with work, with children, with many other things that are demanding. So if we had the time to say, let's switch the tables a bit, let the men come home. It's the same thing for men. If they were the ones at home and they were not the ones, at the forefront. And that's also goes to the root of the fact that men have much more money because they have much more time. You can say that we have 24 hours, but it is not collectively divided equally. I say, okay, in my 24 hours, I have this to give, that to give. So I say that the issue of interest boils down to so many other underlying factors. The fact of financial poverty and time poverty. If we were to turn the table around and say, men, you come here, then let's go there. Let's switch time and let's see whether it becomes favorable, whether it becomes a question of interest to us more, or it will become a question of, oh, we still had the time and we couldn't still do anything about it. And I also think that the idea of interest, women can be surviving or succeeding in somewhere else. that politics might not really be the only thing. We have top tier women in senior executive positions. They are succeeding. So it might not necessarily be a question of interest per se. Okay. It might be that I am just really succeeding somewhere else. So why should I consider something that will stifle me or maybe gag me per se? Or because you're also looking at it from the perspective of, okay, fine, what are the safety measures in place to safeguard me, to protect me out there? But say, for instance, look at the banking sector. At least top 10 banking sectors in Nigeria today, you find women there. Look at FCMB. Look at Fidelity. Look at, is this Sun Trust or something? Yes, Sun City Bank. Look at GTB.
First
look
Bank.
Look at Zenith Bank. These are women holding top senior executive positions as MDs, as CEOs. Exactly. So you cannot necessarily say that women are not skinny or interested. I think that if it becomes more accommodating, maybe women will also thrive in that space. And I also think that we shouldn't limit the functionality of women to the interest in politics alone. Women in other sectors are functional. Women in other spaces. You see, and again, I also believe that it is a game of, okay, where do I get more? Where do I function better? If the climate is not palatable for me to be there, I see no reason why I should struggle to be there. And no doubt about the fact that it's a male-dominated sector, realistically speaking. Yeah. But how do we now begin to change that as people of this country? There have been several attempts over time to say, okay, fine, we're having a gender parity bill, we're having a gender equality bill, we're having a Nigerian gender clinical, all of these things in a bid to what? To also project the Beijing World Women Conference in 1995 to see how Nigeria can actually be gender compliant. But in reality, if you look at the constitution of the country itself, Nigeria's constitution is gender compliant. So when people bring out the argument of whether the Nigerian constitution needs to be reviewed, it's not gender compliant, I want to ask you which section? If you take a look, for example, at the federal character, you would realize that it preaches the quality of what? Equality in itself, justice and fairness. But is that being interpreted in our day-to-day activity? There is something in the book that says, oh yes, you have the climate, you have the rights, yes, constitutionally, to run for this, to run for that. But if you look at it, is that being transferred? Is that being transferred to something that is practicable?
Speaking of that, I think the current president of this country in his manifesto had about 35% women representation in his manifesto, but that is not playing out. I think it has even reduced compared to the time of Buhari. But then you spoke about something very salient. I would love us to go back to that. Okay. He said some women are doing very well in other sectors, so why should they come to politics? Yes. If that's the case, so why do we still complain about the fact that women are not duly represented? If some women are not ready, to venture into politics, just because they are succeeding in other sectors. You spoke about the fact that women have to cater for the children. I made mention of likes of Lyra Ramson Kuti. Yes. She raised good children, the likes of Olikoye Kuti, Beko Kuti, and she was very active in politics and of course in defending the women. Even Alimoto Piriwula, though she didn't give birth to any child, but then she was able to raise other people's children. So is it just about the fact that women have a lot of responsibilities?
We are not in their lives, those women.
Okay.
We are not, that's why I said time poverty. Okay. Many of these women had housemates. Okay. Many of these women had helps. Can you say so for an average woman out there who's probably earning, let's say, less than 500,000 naira a month? How do you expect me to bring in a third party and say, okay, yes, I'm hiring you to come and look after my children and give me the space to also do other things? That's why I'm saying that if we're advocating for financial freedom, financial equity, so to say, and we're also saying that we want women to be in the political space, we also have to advocate for what? Time poverty. Those things are important. For me to function well, some things have to be taken away from my table.
Outsource something.
Outsource, exactly.
But women still have helps. Across the country, don't you agree?
I do not agree that. I think that women in maybe top executive positions, maybe they have help. You can't say so for an average woman because you look at the bargaining power of the average woman out there. What do you have financially to say you want to outsource? I was reading a particular story on Instagram where the woman said that, yes, she and her husband reached a consensus that, see, while you fend for the family, you make the money and all of that. Okay, so I am also still working, no doubt, but I am actively the home runner. I am actively the homemaker. And the woman realized that, see, she was going to die if she continued doing the work and also coming home to be at the forefront of the home. So she decided to take her money and then outsourced the domestic activities in the house to somebody else. And there came the question that the husband said, no, you are not fulfilling your part of the bargain. You said you will be the one to take care of the home. But the woman was like in her defense. She said, yes, I'm not still slacking. After all, it is my money that I used to get the maid to assist me in the house. So I also think that we have really callous people out there. We have really very selfish partners out there that, see, they do not want it. They do not want you to, is it fly high or shine brighter? They want to just keep you where it is you are, or where they think that you should be, create a barricade or a barrier for you to be in. This is somebody who is making her money. And she said that, see, I can't do all of these things and still show up at work regularly. And that goes to the root of the fact that women suffer a lot from time poverty. If we want them to actually even function at work, this is not a question about politics alone now, or power or something. It has to go down to the root of every other sectors they find themselves. Can we outsource some things to ensure that, see, we function properly, whatever it is we find ourselves? Yeah.
Okay, so how do we balance that construct? Because obviously there's a lacuna. I mean, I remember that, Binani, contested for governorship in Adamawa, and of course a lot of them. So how do we get to that point whereby it is convenient for women to venture into politics?
Would it ever be convenient for women to venture into politics?
So what's the way out?
Because it's a sector on its own that has a lot of rigors. I think that personal issues should be dealt with personally.
Okay.
If you are going to function really in politics, you really have to see it as the sector that it is. It's not attractive. It's highly demanding, and all of that. And so to say that, for a fact, do we really want women in power? I'm asking, is it that do we want women in power? I ask you as a woman, do you want women in power? Let's forget about what the mainstream media is, the ideology that is being pushed on the mainstream media.
Okay.
Are we really even comfortable with a woman's role? Because I'll tell you for a fact that many women, so to say, unless you want me to lie and sugarcoat some things on TV, many women would prefer a man's role than a woman's role.
Why is that? Because just like you said, I've read some articles and theses, and some scholars and writers have argued that, okay, sometimes it is difficult to work with women. So make me understand that, really.
Well, many women, you say personality-wise, are choleric in nature.
Okay.
And you will get to see that, okay, when you are choleric in nature, there are certain things that you are snappy about. There are certain personality anomalies. And I do not blame women for having those personality disorder. For crying out loud, you have so many things on your table. There are times where you will just snap. But if we are to say that women cannot rule as much as men, or cannot deliver as much as men can do, they can. It's just that there are many things on the other side of the table that will not give them that fluidity. And for a fact, I have a catch for a man. If I put a man somewhere and say, yes, I'm voting for you, I have a catch. Let me tell you, I can use a woman to control a man. What do I use for a woman? Will I go and meet the husband and say, yes, talk to your wife? Oh, these are the things that we are bargaining for in our constituency, and she's not doing it. So women ordinarily feel that when I have a man representing me, where he is not complying, I can easily go to the wife and say, oh, they're backward now.
So does that mean women are difficult?
I would not say outrightly that women are difficult. So I would say that they're just a cut-off link. So I do not see myself as a woman to be able to manipulate or control, not even use the word control, for me to be able to influence, yes. And when you say politics or power, the bargaining chip men have when they are contesting or when they are campaigning is the fact that, see, you see many women at the forefront now when they are contesting for election. Apart from the fact that we have about 50% women in the demography of the entire Nigeria, we also have women taking decisive role during election period. Yes, they are the ones at the forefront of campaigns. They are the ones you will see there.
But when they win the elections, I mean, they are kept at the back. They don't tend to represent.
They don't tend to represent. Because they feel as though that I cannot tell a woman like myself to go. And the other argument people always have is the fact that women are much more frugal. That's a lie. That's a lie. And I'll tell you why I think it's a lie.
Please.
Simply because we've had Jezeni. Yes. We've had Emefiele. Put both of them side by side. Who do you think stole the biggest funds? Who do you think is outrightly corrupt? We've
So it is not a question of even the gender now. I think when it comes to the question of politics, it should be a question of what? Competence first. And when it comes to politics again, you need to have public clout. Do women have public clout?
Are women ready for public clout?
Are they even ready for public clout? If you also say that maybe going back to financial poverty, I also think that readiness has to play a lot of role in this. And that's why I said, are women even ready to have a female leader come in front of them? I will tell you no, they are not. Because this financial poverty of a thing now, let's look at, I mentioned the fact that we have many women who are in the banking sector and they are doing well. Can we not galvanize? Can we not rally around all of this support and say, if you look at the combined net worth of all of these women, what role, what functional role can it play to translate that, yes, we will generally all vote for a woman to either occupy the executive seat of a governor or occupy any executive seat or even legislative seat at all?
Okay, the concept of women supporting women, how well has that played out? Let's take a look at Natasha Poti. You know, when she made some claims about the Senate president, you know, I was able to read that even the women within the house did not support her. A lot of them, except for the likes of Aisha Yesufu from the outside, Obi, that came out to support her. So that concept of women supporting women, don't you think is affecting, I mean, women venturing into politics? And even when they are there, they don't tend to receive support from their women.
You see, I mentioned earlier that when it comes to politics and interests, they are 5 and 6.
Okay.
Yes, it's a game of interest. And people will support other people based on the interests that they have. What can I stand to benefit? How does this favor me? When I look at the mathematics, oh, if I queue behind Natasha and say this is not a question of whether I am trying to promote constitutional rightness or something. Leave that aside.
Okay.
Interest will always trump the card in politics. And what will also determine interest are my values. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
And even in mainstream media, if you are saying that the masses are not supporting a woman, let me tell you something. The masses will vote, but everything boils down to what? Their values, which automatically will inform their choice of the of candidacy. Now, the idea of women supporting, maybe it works. Yes, it works maybe in other sector. You see it, but to say that women are not finicky about their support, I think that leave the question of woman outside of this box right now. Let's look at the question of a human being. Now, as a human being, what do I see? If I go this route with this person, will it not lead to my downfall and all of that? And again, looking at the question of Natasha and what's his name, Akpabio and all of that, that particular conversation is tensed. Is multifaceted. It's not something that outrightly from the outside you can easily see or puncture it. And until they are ready, they are both ready to come to the floor and say, see, these are the things that have been happening. I cannot just close my eyes and blindly say that, yes, I'm queuing behind a woman. Because you are a woman doesn't mean that you cannot do no wrong. And because you are a man doesn't mean that you're absolutely right. So those are the issues. And until these things are open in they already have legal battles. And yes, in the courts may not even necessarily know what is really ongoing. It is the court will decide based on the facts that are being presented, the evidence, the documentary evidence being presented right before the court.
The court said, you know, a suspension is unconstitutional, this and that, but then Senate President had to do a cross appeal.
But the reality still remains that the National Assembly in itself can discipline one of its own members.
Definitely.
So the question now goes to the root of, okay, at what time does the ruling of a court, a constitutionally constituted court, will trump the decisions of the National Assembly itself? And I also think that it's unconstitutional, it's an opinion. You are not saying that she should be reinstated. You are only giving an opinion that, yes, it's unconstitutional. Why would you suspend her? Why is she being held back from performing her constitutional duties? It is an opinion that it is unconstitutional. Have you said reinstate her back to the assembly? And I also said that NAS can discipline its own member in the way they see fit. You get what I'm trying to say? Okay. So in a long run, yeah, it boils down to the question of whether women truly want to see another gender, their gender, in an elective position, whether they want to see them in the office. And for a fact, we've had many of all of these bills saying the same thing over and over. As at the last time, 2019, 2020, we had 35% affirmative action for women,
Yeah.
which was also projected in presidential manifesto that would have women in these seats occupy these positions. The practicality of that, where is it today? Now we are having something in from Lagos, from the Lagos wing, from Kafila Togbara, that we want reserved. They are now propagating the idea of the reserved seat bill for women in NAS and legislative.
Going to come to that. Yeah.
You're going there. So I think you should lead me on from there.
Okay, so speaking of that, the Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu said that these reserved seat for women, we are not doing it just so we can come off to the public that okay, we are trying to make sure that women are duly represented. It is the right of the women to represent. Do you think these will change the whole game? Because this is not the first time that we have seen instances whereby the NAS or even the president, when they are even contested, they will say we'll make it better. I mean, during the Buhari regime, it was much better, but when President Tinubu came, it reduced drastically. So do you think this bill will change anything, really?
The question I asked myself last night is the fact that does women representation on the seats, would it even really translate to improved lives for women out there? Because we keep saying that we want them represented. No, not to say that the argument for equal representation is faulty. No, it's not. It's purely democratic. Is purely democratic. But I am saying that in hindsight now that, okay, does it really translate to something good? Does it translate to a better life for even women out there? I also understand the argument of the fact that when you have women represented in the forefront, on the table, yes, they bring different perspectives. Those are the arguments we've heard so far so well. But I think that propagating this reserved seats bill, I think it is very premature. In the sense that laws are very rigid. And if I am to actually sit down and advise and say, see, why can't we pursue this thing, women representation, as a policy first? Simply because when you look at policies, they are easier. You can easily change. You can easily maneuver. Let's say you have an executive directive to FEC and say, Federal Executive Council, and say, okay, fine, let's give directives to all federal committee and federal boards and say, see, women should be here. It's as a form of a directive to all federal parastatals. But if you are coming by way of a law, you want to make it a law, let me tell you what will happen. It is rigid in the sense that when you now say you want to do any repeal or review, those legislative bottlenecks will naturally come in. But I think that it is better for us to foster the political will, massage it. Because coming out like this would build a lot of restraint. I can tell you this particular bill will go nowhere. For a fact. And that's because we've seen it over time playing out. That, see, everything will just get truncated halfway. It doesn't move further.
Do you think this bill will not move forward just because women are not even ready to push it?
No.
Okay, so what's the reason?
No.
Okay.
It's not because it lacks merit.
Okay.
And it's not because it doesn't have the right support. I've been seeing it gathering a lot of momentum, political momentum, media momentum. But that is not all that is needed. It needs a lot of strategy for you to say, okay, fine, we want to lessen the restraint. We want to, there is this upfront restraint we feel, resistance, yes. There's this upfront resistance because men do not understand the quota system. Men feel as though you are trying to seek expansion. You're trying to take power away from them. So how do we lessen the resistance? I think that it is best for us to go through the policy route. Say, for instance, you're looking at leveling the field in political parties. You can have political parties rules to say that, see, in our party, this is what we are taking. Any nomination of candidacy, we are supposed to have at least 50-50 or 40-60 or kiniko. We are going to have this as a form of a party regulation. Or INEC will now come with a guideline to say, for you to bring your parties, your candidates from this particular party, these are the guidelines that you must meet for you to be here. So I think by doing so, you are getting a lot of POCs, proof of concept that, see, in the last 2 years, 3 years, with this, we've been able to monitor that, see, while there were executive directives, there were internal party restructuring, rules and regulations, we've had INEC guidelines. These are the changes. These are the women that are now here. They've been able to get here. Then I think we'll move from building political will to what? To now legislature. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I think policy first,
Okay.
then we make it a law after.
Okay. Speaking of the political parties, I think there is politics even within the political parties, because I think just recently I mentioned Binani when the primaries was done, and then the likes of Nuribadu contested with her, and then Ilos. There was a tussle around that. So how do women manage all of these issues? Even speaking of Natasha, let me tell you, a lot of women are already scared about what she's going through. Okay, should I want to, go into the National Assembly? Will I face this kind of issue too? So how can women manage, crisis within the political party? Because I've seen women who are very interested in contesting for serious positions, but then, the atmosphere is not conducive. Talk of patriarchy. Just like you said, we've seen issues. I watched a video, you must know Obi Ezekwe Silly.
Yes.
She had an issue with a particular senator, and it was not funny. The conversations, the back and forth. So how can women deal with issues like that? Because it will definitely come up, even within the political parties.
I think managing issues like that will be the right fit for this, because in this part of the world, I would say that men are not obliged to a woman's role. And I think we have made politics a question of, it has to be either a woman or a man. We have sacrificed questions as strength, as competency, as what else will I say now? Legitimacy. We have sacrificed all of those things to answer the gender question in this instance. Because a man is there, because a woman is there, does not necessarily translate to good governance. But what would translate to good governance is the fact that we have a competent person there. Now, the follow-up question will now be, is it that we do not have women who are competent to be there? That question is subjective. The answer to that question is subjective at best. Do we have women who are competent enough to be there? The answer will be yes and no. Yes and no. But the climate, is it changing to accommodate the training of women to be much more competent and all of that? Yes, it is there. But I will also say that there is a gap with, there's nobody holding any woman's hand to say, this is where you should be. Come in, let me open the door for you. So there is an intergenerational gap as to, women in leadership. Now you will see this set of women. You will see, before you see another set of women, it takes a while. Am I wrong? Because you just see them. You mentioned the likes of Malaya Ransom Kuti.
Yeah.
After that, what caliber of women, what grade of women can you also mention? So you see that there is a gap. There is a gap at every point in time.
Do you think women have lost that vigor? Because those women, they were very radical, and they were not even ashamed, to put out, their desires.
So many things will close you in as you proceed in politics. So many things will make you just lose interest. Like I told you for a fact that it is not an attractive space to be. The highly demanding meetings, the issue of heavy militarization of the entire process will close you in. But how are the men doing it? And we should study that, how they are doing it and how they are succeeding at doing it. I think when we are able to solve personal issues as to time and finances, that should be a course we should all understudy. How is it that you guys can easily show up here, do this and do that? Is it because we allow it? Is it a question of allowance for you to be? Or we have internal rivalry between me and you as a woman that would not even make me ordinarily succeed? I've pointed out the fact that, do I really even want a woman to be there? And I tell you that politics is not a game of, you have a godfather, let's just come and put you here. You also have to have public clout. You also have to have public acceptance. It is the masses that would vote for you to be there. So if you are not, I think the groundwork for this particular bill has not been properly done.
Okay.
For us to get the amount of clout that we actually need. And I've given you submissions as to how these groundworks can be done. Let's go through the policy route. If I am to sit down and draft, let's say, gender policy framework for Nigeria, this is exactly what I'm going to do. To say, let's look at political parties, let's level the playing field. The entire reserved seats bill, the entire 35% affirmative action for women, I even think it's very derogatory. In the sense that you are saying that, 35%. So is that to say that it shouldn't be more than 35%? The men should have 65%. Is that what you're trying to say? But I think that any draft of this particular bill should have it that, at least not less than 35%. That is to say, it can be more. But it should never ever go below this quota. You get what I'm trying to say? So I think that in going forward now, it is very, very, in pursuit of democracy itself, we have to practice what we say. You know, we have to uphold the principle of equality. We have to uphold the principle of fairness, most especially. Oh, if we have this person here, would see the interpretation of our laws in a different light. This person would have a different perspective. And I also think that it's a smart move, government-wise, for you to have representation of women on your table. It is a smart government strategy. Oh, I want to actually hear from this person, because you are saying that you look at the positions women are holding. How many women do we have in agriculture? How many women do we have in small businesses? You have more women than men there. Small businesses in the country, women are at the forefront. You also look at the health sector. Women are at the forefront. So I think if you want to harness this power of this demography, you really have to put them there. You really have to. It shouldn't be a question of negotiation. And it shouldn't be a question of, oh, we just want to, because I see where this is going here. The entire media clout is important, yes. But that's not the only thing. If it is lacking in substance and strategy, it will also feel like so many other gender bills, gender parity bills that we've had in the past. But I think that we should learn from the likes of Senegal. We should learn from the likes of Rwanda. Maybe not totally from Rwanda, because you will see that we have about 70 or 60% of women at the forefront of political power in Rwanda. That is not far-fetched, in the sense that post-genocide, we had more women surviving the war than men. A lot of their men have died. So it is not far-fetched that, the available people are the ones that would govern the country. But we also have it that in Senegal, it's a different narrative. They had to push the political will before legitimacy. They had to come to the point of let's massage it.
Speaking on that, what is the percentage of women that actually speak up on this matter? I always love to go back to history. Let me come back to the likes of Alimoto Pulewura, who handed over to the likes of Abibato Mogaji and the likes. These women, they made sure that, some of these policies, even the colonizers, they confronted their policies and made sure that they reversed those policies. Speaking of, Funmilayo Ransome Kuti, he made sure that, the tax increase did not work. Even the Alaki had to abdicate the throne temporarily. So what is the percentage of women who speak up in 21st century? If I promise you something and you forget about it and I don't remind you, the tendencies are high that I will not get that thing because I'm not reminding you. But what is the percentage of women that speak up on these matters?
It boils down to the understanding of women on things that affect their rights. Gone are those days where maybe history did not put it well.
Okay.
We had many limited women in schools, but I think that substantially some things have changed. Look at our classrooms now. We have more women than we have men.
Okay.
Anybody listening to me can testify or can agree with me that that's the situation in classrooms now.
Except for some courses like engineering.
Except for some courses. And I think we are also getting there. You look at civil and you look at petroleum engineering. What it used to be 5-10 years ago is not what it is now. We have women now stepping out of the box, breaking their own shops. Say, yes, I want to do this. My gender should not limit my capacity. Should not limit my right to get some things for myself. Should not limit my build-up. Now, the percentage of women speaking about this goes to the root of, do they even understand what they are speaking about? How have we been able to breed women? That's why I said there is an intergenerational gap. Those women, you look at how many other women did they raise up? How many did they breed? Because it's very different. You see many other politicians saying that, you see them over the time of 10, 15, 20 years together. And it's also very hard for you to see other women saying that they want to actually work on other women. So there will naturally be an intergenerational gap that, I don't think I want to serve this person for too long, maybe because of rigidity or other complexities that or peculiarities that we cannot even expose right now. So if I'm not understanding why I should advocate or why I should campaign, why I should lead a protest against this particular thing, you won't find me outside there. You are saying that many women don't want it. They just want to tell you they don't want it. It's okay for us to say that we want to tick gender boxes and say, yes, let's say that in compliance with Beijing Women's World Conference in 1995, Nigeria also is following suit by having a national gender policy or national gender bill to say this, to say that. But I have asked you here over and over, do women actually want other women to be in position of power?
Okay, does that, justify the fact that, there's this unhealthy rivalry amongst women? Because, I mean, if you're in this position, I mean, two women in the same office, you always see tussle and this and that, and it appears that we have carried that into politics. How can we deal with that unhealthy rivalry amongst women? Because that's how we can, be represented well in politics. If we keep that notion, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult. I'm not trying to sound pessimistic, but it's just the reality.
How can we deal with unhealthy rivalry?
Yes.
I think that you would see women who are poor, they gossip together, they enjoy their gossips and all of that. It takes a certain level of going beyond the ordinary to see that I can work with this person to actually achieve what we want to achieve together. Women will compete over the kind of bag you carry. Oh, take me bag to that Jumilo. They will compete over the kind of jewelry you wear or the kind of hair that you wear. That's why I said it takes a certain level of outgrowing some nasty barriers.
What about education? Does education not help at all? I mean, if you're so learned, why should you be pressured about the kind of bag your colleague is carrying? You can afford it, you can't afford it, buy the one that is less.
Well, I do not think that education is what bets the kind of values that you actually have.
So what bets it?
As a person? I think a lot of, I think it has to do with your upbringing.
Okay.
It matters. It matters a lot. How you see things. Among siblings, we also have rivalry amongst them.
Okay.
Not to talk of a total stranger, somebody you are meeting for the first time outside, and you expect that, yes, I have outgrown this nasty behavior of mine, to say that, oh yeah, I also want better. That is why men or women generally, and I'll say again, maybe this is the other part of me that you might not agree with. That
okay.
Women who know exactly what they are doing, they would like to actually have, they would actually like to be led by men. And I'll tell you for a fact, the reason why I want a man who has a very good charismatic quality, who is refined, is because so when I come back home, I can say, yeah, these things are missing. Can you help me with this? Many women will not tell you, but naturally, women gravitate towards men who can lead them.
So that helps you. Okay.
You may not agree with me, but we naturally gravitate towards men who have very bold, charismatic qualities and all of that.
But in recent time, sorry to quote you, feminism has done quite a lot. That some women, there are different types of feminism. We have the theories, we have the radical feminists, but there's a certain kind of feminism that is somewhat harsh, and then they tend to compete, on healthy competition with men. So I think that has also affected. Do you agree with me?
For me, I think that what has done more harm, I think, is even having the Women Affairs Ministry, for instance. Because you will see that everything you now come to fight for as a young person would be boxed into, oh yes, even if you are going into position of power, they just tell you go to the Ministry of Women Affairs. Oh, you'll be functional at the Ministry of Women Affairs. They just tend to just relegate you immediately to Women Affairs. Okay. But I think that if you see politics the way it should be seen, that it is not a question of the gender. It is the question of the competency this person brings to the table. Why not? Why won't I vote for you? Whether you have boobs or you have beards, why should that limit the capacity of who I am going to vote for? Yeah. But what you are bringing to the table for me is, see, these are the issues. I'm also doing the footwork with you. I'm also breaking the barrier of the fact that, see, forget strength, forget weaker vessel. But I'm also out here because it is a game that requires all of that. So to say for a fact that I want you here, let's begin to see politics as a game that it is. That is very, very demanding. And I cannot say that this is how we can actually make the climate better for women to play. But we can level the field. We can level the field with the kind of policies we actually make. And the fact that we have a woman on that table does not mean that they will ensure better for other women out there. Let me give you an example.
Time is no longer on our side.
Okay, but let me just briefly say this. In the sense that you would see a man, and let's say the house, and say, Ogade wa daju, Madam Law. Ogade daju, Madam Law. That's just to go to the root of the fact that because we have a woman there, doesn't mean that you would represent. What if you as a man, But I also agree that there are peculiarities that a woman will understand better. That a man might not understand. So I would say lastly that it is just plainly democratic for us to what? Share the table the way it should be shared, so that we can witness the kind of economic progress, political progress, social progress we are looking for. You see, sorry, you see a different perspective to things when you naturally allow the inclusion, allowances of other people to come into the table.
All right, thank you so much. I think it's a good place to leave it. I like a resolution, and of course, you've been able to proffer some solutions. To the issue of representation in Nigeria. We've been speaking with Kawthur Salahudeen, a dynamic force in Nigeria's development space, and then she's a multi-sectoral development professional and public interest lawyer with over 6 years of impartful experience in youth systems strengthening, and of course, over things. Thank you for being a part of the show this morning. The conversation will definitely continue.
Thank you.
All right, as we reflect on the conversation, one truth echoes louder than statistics. Gender parity in Nigerian politics is not a privilege to be granted. It's a right long overdue. The path to inclusive governance is complex, but not impossible. It demands more than token appointment. It requires structural reform, intentional policy shift, and a cultural reset in how we value leadership across gender lines. Because when women lead, systems evolve, and when parity is achieved, democracy is strengthened. The work continues, not someday, but now. Thank you for being a part of Big Story this morning. My name is Oluwayemi Adelakwa, and I'm saying good morning.